Welcome back to Politics Tonight. As an essential mineral needed for all-round human and plant survival, the effective management and distribution of water is crucial for increasing agricultural production through the practice of irrigation and even investing in technology. But sometimes in a country like Nigeria, especially in the rural areas where there can be challenges of scarcity of water, or sometimes access and equitable distribution of water. Now, if this challenge is eradicated, how much impact can this have on food production in Nigeria? Now let's speak with the Managing Director of the River Basin Development Authority, Dr. Olufemi Adekombi. Good evening to you. Thanks a lot for joining us on Politics Tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So you're the Managing Director of an authority mandated with the responsibility of promoting integrated rural development and harness water resources for agricultural, domestic and industrial uses with catchment areas in Edo River, Ondo, yes, Ekiti, part of Delta, and Kogi State.
No.
Okay, no,
that's the first state.
Right. So, can you provide a brief overview of the authority's core responsibility and how it contributes to the overall development agenda of the country?
Yeah, we resumed about 2 months ago. As you are aware, 2 months ago, the president appointed us to be in charge of the basin. Not only myself, the 12 basins across the country, and we resumed 2 months ago. And immediately we resumed, we faced a lot of challenges. Challenges in the sense that over time, the river basin has been underutilized, totally forgotten. And just like I said in your studio in Abuja, in the years ago, during some years ago, most of the crops, people go to river basin to get vegetables, rice, gari, and a lot of things like that. But now, totally before we came in, river basin has been abandoned. So when we came in, we look at our core mandate, which is the aspect of water supply, agri, and provision of assisting farmers. And with that mandate, and with the issue of Mr. President, as you are aware, 2-3 weeks ago, last month, he declared state of emergency on food security. So we moved, not only Benue, all other river basins, we move immediately to action, and we've been moving to ensure that we follow and fulfill the mandate of Mr. President.
I mean, you just said the river basin has been abandoned and underutilized. That sounds very contradictory to what your predecessor had said. That's the former MD, Saliu Ahmed. I mean, he had already said he had a bragging right. He says under his leadership, Bodda, that was ranked worst of the 12 river basins in the country, was now ranked number 3.
Yeah, it depends on the way you look at it. Performance of categories. Yeah, to him, he has performed to his level as an engineer. But to us, we look at it in line with the renewable agenda of Mr. President. Vis-a-vis food security. And we look at it that basically, when you look at the entire country, and the effect of river basin has not been fed. Unlike before, the effect of river basin has not been fed. Virtually, most of our dams are not working. Irrigation are not performed. We don't have, most of the farmland are not irrigated. We don't have, most of the land are just lying fallow. It may interest you to know, Jumoke, that across the country, river basin have the highest hectares of land.
Okay.
Highest hectares of land. How many are we making use of? Across the country, less than 2,000. So that was why I said river basin have been abandoned. Because if you're looking at food security, river basins should play critical role because they are connected in all the local government in Nigeria. But right now, before we came in, they were not. But now, all of us are making arrangements to ensure that we are connected.
So in the last 2 months since you assumed office, what has been your biggest achievement so far and milestone?
Of course, you know that 2 months is not enough to achieve. We just came in. We were not the one that prepared the budget. But you see, we are making plans. Number one plan is that we want to make sure, like Benue River Basin, we want to make sure that we complete and we complete some of our dams and some irrigations, and we go into serious farming. Then that's one. We want to go into integrated farming, which we have named Renew Hope Agenda Empowering Youth for Farming. So How do we want to do this? We want to ensure that in each local government, we are partnering with a lot of people. I mean, a lot of agencies, especially the NDE. So we want to make sure that in each local government, we have integrated farming that will take like 500 in that local government, train the youth, train them on how to farm, on fishing, on poultry, on greenhouse, and every other thing like that. We teach them. We have an hostel in the integrated farm. When we teach them, then after teaching them for about 3 months, we now give them like 1 hectare to farm, and we give them logistics. So when you do this across the nation, in the 774 local government, with the assistance of maybe Bank of Industry, BOI, and development partners, you see that there will be lots of employment that will be generated.
All right, so I'm wondering why you're so focused on the youths, if there are so many challenges, just as you said, before you came in. But how has the authority adapted to meet, the evolving needs of the communities within its jurisdiction? Yes,
we look. Thank God for Mr. President that have provided us with some fund on renewed hope agenda. We have looked.
How much is that?
Yeah, I don't want to mention that on phone. It's not too big, but you see, we want to utilize that to ensure that we complete our dam, just like what I said. But our focus mainly will be on empowering the youth on agriculture.
Will be enough for you to meet your targets?
No. It's just the beginning. Okay. We just resume. It's just the beginning. When we start with that, and we want to show Mr. President that we have the capability to achieve what we want to achieve. And the most important thing that we want to do is to show to the federal government that river basin should be the main channel for this food security. Because in conjunction with our supervisory minister, which is the Federal Minister of Water Resources, and as you can see, our minister has been doing a lot, and he has been meeting with us time to time to ensure that we fulfill the mandate of Mr. President concerning food security. So we want to ensure that the youth are taken away from the street. It's a big win for the youth, because by the time we set up this integrated farming, in each of the local government, when we have like 500, if we start with 500 every 3 months, train them, put them in agri, teach them and give them logistics. So the major thing that is causing real issue in Nigeria is the way youth move away from the rural areas to the urban centers, looking for white-collar jobs that are not there. You see a lot of people moving to Lagos, moving to Port Harcourt, moving to Abuja, looking for big jobs that are not there. But they've forgotten the fact that if they stay at home and look at agriculture, they will earn more money. So that's exactly what we're trying to do to orientate our youth and change their focus from looking at it at Japa area to look at it that inwardly, that you can be what you want to become if you look at that.
So how do you intend to go about it? Because you have Edo, Ondo, Ekiti, and part of Delta as your catchment area. So how do you intend to go about this mission?
Okay, let me. Right now, we are doing a lot of data collection. We want to look at what can we achieve in data. For instance, that okay, data land, we look at the statistics. What can we plant here? What can we have here that will give us high yield? What can we plant in Edo that will give us high yield? What can we plant in Ekiti that will give us high yield? What can we plant in Ondo that will give us high yield? So we do this across all our 4 states. And we are not the only one doing it. All the 12 river basins are doing that. So when we look at this, we now look at, okay, we'll now start with that. So take, for instance, in data now, we have rice. If we have rice in data, we'll be able to provide enough rice. Put a rice mill there, get the land prepared, tractorize the land, put our integrated farming there, and teach the youth on how to do this. Then we move to Edo, maybe cassava, another thing. We'll do that. So that's exactly what we're going to do for the first state.
So I'm concerned about data collection because, in Nigeria we have issues. We have challenges in gathering data. We don't have data. Exactly. Is that correct? So where are you getting that data from?
Of course, we're in the IT world. So to get the data is even the most easiest thing now. Because right now there are even equipment that right from the sky, they will tell you what you can get on this land on a high yield. And that's exactly what we're doing. So most of the places that we're looking at, we've consulted consultants to help us get our data yield. Our data. And once we get that, we'll be able to know exactly what we're focusing on. It's not that we want to go to data now, we want to go and plant, take for instance, sugarcane. Or take for instance, something that cannot grow very well there. So eventually you will not get high yield there. So we are looking at, we want to make use of what's it called, of computer, I mean not computer, sorry, of digital world to make sure that there is high yield in food production.
All right, let's leave your mission and vision for the authority. Let's look at the challenges and the way forward. My first question is, what is the state of irrigation infrastructure in Nigeria?
The infrastructure in Nigeria?
Yes, irrigation infrastructure in Nigeria.
Let me put this to you, Jumoke. It will interest you to know that most of our irrigation facility, before the coming in of this government, has been abandoned. Most of them are not working. Take for instance, in our place, we have quite a lot of irrigation system that are not working in Edo, in Ondo, in Ekiti, and in Delta. Abandoned. The same thing everywhere. So when Mr. President came, Mr. President now said no, gave some river basin, some money to develop the irrigation system and put in sprinklers and all that, so that we can and tractorize the land with the irrigation system and put farmland on the land. And that's exactly what we're doing.
I don't think you answered that question, but let me rephrase it.
Yeah.
The primary mandate of your agency, in simpler terms, is development of the nation's water resources to meet all the need, all the used water serves at both domestic, agricultural, and hydropower generation levels. Talk to us about how the authority contributes to irrigation and agricultural development, even before you assumed office.
Now, by the time you get your land, when you irrigate your land, you have enough water to farm throughout the year. But most of the irrigation system now are either being vandalized or are not in use, are not completed. So that's why I said that our focus for now is to look at our irrigation system, complete them, and put them in use, so that we can farm throughout the year, 12 months. So that's exactly what I'm saying. So that is the practice we want to put in use now. And that was what I said.
So before you came in, are there some irrigation projects implemented by the authority?
Of course.
Before you came?
Of course. Of course.
Like what?
They are not just no. There are so many. Some of them are used. We have the Okwe, we have the some in Edo, some in one or two of them in Ondo, and maybe one or two of them in Delta, Ekiti. But these are not just. These are just few. These are just few. The irrigation system are not. We have not even completed that one. So that's why I said, Mr. President has been so gracious to us. He gave us some funds that we should use for this irrigation system. So our focus now is to look at the one we can complete and commission.
Okay.
Look at the dams that we can complete and commission.
Okay.
So when we complete this dam and commission them and the irrigation system, we'll be able to farm, to tractorize the land for them and put the irrigation system in use to farm throughout the 12 months.
That sounds very good. So, but what challenges do you think, since you assumed office, do farmers face in accessing irrigation water in regards to infrastructure issues, water allocation, conflict, high energy costs, and the likes, even for water pumping?
Jumoke, there are so many issues that we're facing concerning food security vis-a-vis the farmers. Top of them is what people call, I mentioned that, the movement from rural area to urban. It's a serious issue. So until we change our mindset, we change the youth mindset, that look, go into this. Take for instance, I'll give an example. Ginger, for example, or melon, or even cassava. So many of them. So just putting 1,000 hectares, 2,000 hectares of cassava can earn a youth millions of naira. So, but because of the Japa syndrome movement, that's number one. Security aspect. And in that security aspect, we are looking at it from another dimension. From our own side, we are looking at it that, look, we want to sit down with these people. They are just our people, whether you like it or not. They will still be with us. Whether they are cattle areas, whether they are food, they will still be with us. So what we want to do in our own aspect is to call them, sit down with them, dialogue with them, that look, we have this 100 hectares of land. We have this 1,000 hectares of land. We want to tractorize this 800 out of it. We want to put the 200 hectares or 100 hectares. We're going to give you, feeding this in, what you can use to feed your cow there and give them water. Like a ranch, I don't want to go into the, but put that like a ranching and put a small house for them so that they will be able, will not tell them, I have an understanding with them that this is yours, not permanently anyway, but you can be able to put your cow here to supervise her. When you have understanding with these people, sit down and understand.
Have you started having conversations with them?
Of course,
so what's the feedback like?
Oh, it's beautiful. And of course, we don't forget the fact that we are also discussing with the security agencies.
All right. Let's stay on balancing farming needs and conservation. How can we integrate watershed management with agricultural practices?
Yeah, you see, the point is this. Let me give you an instance concerning some countries. I don't need to even go there. Now, the issue in Nigeria, what we need to do is to make sure that the water resources management, we do it in such a way that we can manage our water resources all year round. Provide water to, drinking water to our people. The
authority is under the Ministry of Water Resources.
Yeah, under the Ministry of Water Resources. And you can see the Ministry of Water Resources is doing a lot in providing drinking water to the people. But the river basin provide water to the rural areas and to the farm.
Okay.
So that's exactly what we're doing. So when we do that, and in partnership with development agency, so when you put in this water supply in communities, communities and farmland, outside the irrigation aspect, you realize the fact that you must have managed the water resources within that area. And that's a fact. We must have managed the water resources in those areas.
So have you started having this conversation about climate change and environmental sustainability? You talked about farming and agriculture and your intention for the youths around these catchment areas, but how has the authority addressed issues related to climate change and environmental sustainability? How are you addressing these growing concerns? Yes,
you see, you asked a question the other time, the factors that will be affecting food security. One of the factors that will be affecting food security is the climate change. Because you can see quite a lot of flooding recently. It's been affecting a lot for farming in Nigeria, and it's a critical issue. Absolutely. That's a fact. It's a critical issue. But there's a way to manage it, which is we have to work. Like I said, I'll go back to the data. We have to work with data and know that, okay, and know the period that we have to be expecting this, and know what to do. That's exactly what we're doing at, and what we're looking at. And with that, you'll be able to look at it on the 12-month calendar and work your way around it. And
you don't want to tell us the kind of strategies you're planning to adopt?
That's our
Sorry?
Strategy to adopt? That's what we're planning.
Okay. So let's take Ondo State as an example. And gladly you're here. You're from there. Because between 2020 and March 2025, the soil erosion and sea incursion that has been happening in Ayeto town, for example, for the past 15 years has continued unabated. You assumed office. Have you paid attention to why that issue has remained that way?
Number one, let me tell you critically, that's not my mandate. It's a mandate of the ministry and in conjunction with the Minister of Environment. That's a fact. But I'm an environmentalist, but we've looked at it. I went there myself, and I discovered that a whole town, a whole community, about 2-3 communities, destroyed. So what they need to do on that area is to look at how they can expand so that they take the water to another and expand the scope of that water so that it won't come down to this area. You understand what I'm talking about now? So the point concerning that is for them to look at it, bring experts to look at what can be done, because whether we like it or not, it will continue. It's either you dredge or something like that, but it will continue to happen if something is not done quickly. So
what do you think needs to be done? We need to go on break, but what do you think needs to be done? Is it just about expansion?
Yeah, it's dredging, and after dredging, doing a lot of expansion on it, because without that, it's a job surge that can come into anywhere. Because I'm an environmentalist. When you go there, when I went there with my team, about 5 of us, and we saw that, and we gave them our own report. That is the only thing that can save the community. Because otherwise, if you still build that community without expanding the issue, it's going to repeat itself. And that's a fact. Because even if you put embankment, it can still come back. Because due to the climate change now, there are oversold in the sea.
Embankment is a no-no, because I wanted to ask about that.
For us, I don't think so. Because no matter the level of the embankment, if you remember, look at what it did in where you are now, Atlantic. So many years ago, when our president used to be was the governor, he built embankment. It didn't work. That's the fact. It didn't work until they put this in place to expand the water down the other side. That's exactly what we need to do in that part of Ondo State. All right.
Dr. Adekombi, let's go on a break, and when we come back, we'll expand this conversation.
Thank you.
This is Politics Tonight. Stay with us, everyone. Agricultural production and water resource management. And I've been speaking with Dr. Olufemi Adekombi, MD Benue Owena River Basin Development Authority. Thank you so much for staying with us on the program. So, Dr. Adekombi, there are reports that a very large or a very popular, significant portion of the Nigerian population, including those in your catchment areas, rely on external sources for water, with a substantial percentage lacking access to safe drinking water within their homes. What are the opportunities for collaboration between your authority and local communities?
Yeah, when we resumed office 2 months ago, one of the things that we did was to visit all our governors.
All the governors?
Yeah, all our governors, and see where we can collaborate, where we can partner together on delivering of our mandate. And we visited the governor of Edo, we visited the governor of Delta, Ondo, and Ekiti, recently Ekiti, just last week. And I can tell you, we had a very good discussion with all of them, and they are, apart from the issue of water resources, they are massively going to farming with relation with agricultural produce, and I'm so impressed with them. That's why you can see. Let me take for instance the issue of all the 4 states. The issue of insecurity are gradually reducing because. You see, one of the issues that have caused this issue of insecurity is movement of our people away from the rural areas to the urban centers. So thereby creating, making the whole thing vacant for intruders to come in. So, but when these governors came in, when our governors now, what they have started is to move into the forest and start farming on the forest. And when you farm on this forest, you move them away from those areas. The more you farm on this forest, the more they move away to another place. So that's why they have started. So we met with the governors, and we are collaborating on water supply. Most importantly, to the rural areas, to the farmers, we're collaborating on not only on water supply, we're collaborating on access road to the farms. Because one of the issue of food security is accessibility. If people cannot access the food, they won't get it. And if farmers cannot access where to sell the food, it won't get to the consumer. So we're looking at access road, we're looking at water supply to these places. So we're really collaborating with our governors.
All right, but what roles do traditional rulers, local government officers, civil society organizations play in supporting your work?
That's a very good question. While we visited all the governors, we visited the local government traditional rulers. And one of the things we told the local government traditional rulers is they should move away from the aspect of selling their land to strangers. Most of the traditional rulers, what they do, they collect money from whosoever can pay and sell their land. And they don't know what these people do on this land. So what we told them was that, look, please desist from selling this land. Rather, give this land to us to farm on them. So that when we farm on them, we give them to the youth in your community to farm on. We provide logistics for them. So at the end of the day, you have enough farm produce in your community. So we're discussing with the traditional lands.
So apart from the locals selling their lands to strangers, what other challenges did you identify during your visits to those places?
We identified 2-3 others from the traditional rulers. One, they are totally away from their people. Some of these traditional rulers are in terms of farming. Some of them are totally away from the communities, because they look at it that, well, if somebody comes to them now, you want to go to Lagos, they bless the person. But all they need to do is let the person, enlighten the person, the reason why the person should look inward instead of looking for a job that is 200,000 outside, when you can make over that more than 1 million, 2 million in your community. So we made them to realize that fact, that encourage the youth to look inwardly into farming within the community. In China, Jumoke, it will be interesting to know that if you go there, majority of the youth in their province stay within that system. So there's no single house in China that don't have one or two issues that they produce, that they're farming on. That's the fact in China. The same thing in Malaysia. The same thing in India. But in Nigeria here, most of our people, they encourage our people to go out. So what the orientation we're giving them now is, look, instead of telling them to go out to Lagos where there's no job there, I'm sorry to say this, where they will be expecting somebody to be paying them 1 million, which may not happen, but rather they will be looking for 100,000 naira job. But tell them to look inward, provide land for these people. So what we are doing now is, just like what I said earlier, to provide, get the land from these traditional lands.
So how easy or how hard has it been on you and your team in trying to convince these young Nigerians in your catchment areas to come back to farming?
We will gradually convince them, and it's very easy. By the time they see the way their mates that we're picking up from the local government are doing, because if you give, by the time we train them on our integrated farm, maybe we train 500 of them, and we give them 1 hectares to farm on. I will give them all the logistics, and we tractorize the land for them, get the land prepared for them, get all the casual workers, and give them all the logistics. When they see the way they are progressing, that they are prospering on the farm, they will be encouraged to come back home, and that's a fact.
All right. So what challenges has the authority faced in executing its mandates? And I'm asking because I've heard people say the ongoing construction of major water schemes like the Earth Dam highlights the need for increased investment to fully realize the benefits of these projects. So overall, does Nigeria need more water schemes?
Oh, of course, yeah. We actually need more water scheme, especially the issue of irrigation and dam. Okay. That's a fact. We actually need this. And that's why the river basin are now appealing to the presidency. They should look purely into the river basin in this issue of food security. Because across the 774 local governments, river basin are present in all these. They are the only agencies in Nigeria that are present in 774 local governments in Nigeria.
Or underutilized.
And underutilized. So you can imagine the budget of this river basin. All the 12 river basins combined together, Jumoke, the total budget for them are now up to 50 billion.
So funding is a challenge.
It's a challenge. So you don't expect somebody who is going to, you are giving somebody less than 3-4 billion and you want food security in that basin. How will they achieve that? And that's why you see most river basin running after a consultancy project to see what they can bring into their basin. But if the presidency, which he has started, we must look critically at the river basin and look at how this survey, with the supervision of the Ministry of Water Resources, our supervising ministry, and see how the river basin can be utilized maximally in relation with this food security.
Right. You've said a lot, Dr. Adekombi, but how does the authority ensure long-term sustainability of these projects, especially in rural areas? How does the authority assess and measure the social and economic impact of these interventions when you start?
Now, it's about success. Once you start and people see the success out of it, and it's about leadership. And as a leader, when you give them your policy direction, and you start with that policy direction, and people follow you with that policy direction, and they believe in that your policy direction, whether you are there or not, it will continue. And for the fact that the supervising ministry will be supervising and be monitoring your achievement. That is a fact, because sustainability is a key factor. I will not be MD forever. I will live there one day. But by the time you look at the success recorded on our part, the next person coming in will not want to record less. And that's a fact. Just like what we said earlier, the former MD recorded his own success to his own level. But I want to achieve more than that. That achievement that he believes he has achieved, to me, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has given us more than that. What is we want now is food security. And that is exactly what we are looking at. And that's what subsidiarity is the key issue in this food security aspect.
So from what you've seen in the last 2 months, is it true that only 70% of Nigerians have access to improved water sources, but less than 40% have access to safely managed water supply?
Absolutely.
That's
I agree with you, even if not lesser. Absolutely. Because, like I said, most of the communities right now don't have access to clean water. Most of the communities. And be factual. But the fact is, since Bola Ahmed Tinubu resumed, and since the minister came in, most of these communities are now getting access to clean water. Most of these communities are now having irrigation in their farm, irrigation in their farm. Most of these dams that you can see, like recently Mr. President approved about 80 or 90 billion for Adeja dam, which they are presently on it. So and a lot of them are on now, rehabilitating them. So this new government, when this new regime of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came in, a lot of work has been carried out on all our water system.
So let's link food security, agriculture, and water management. How can improved water resource management boost food security in Nigeria?
Without improved water security, water supply, there will not be the issue of food security, because water is the major issue that will bring the food security. Without irrigating your farm, you can't farm all year round. Without getting water into your farm, you can't. And without making sure that the community have access to water, they will not be able to go to farm. Let me put it this time. They won't see, there will be a lot of pipe-borne water diseases that will not enable them to go to farm. So water resources issue is key to food security, very key to food security.
So how do you describe your working relationship with the Minister of Water Resources?
Oh, absolutely. That's our supervising ministry. And the minister has been so wonderful. He worked day and night. He's been meeting us every time to give us policy direction, and kept telling us that in everything you want to do, I am here to support you. Now, what we should work on now is also disturbed about the lean budget of river basin. It's disturbed because you can't give a river basin that you want food security in Nigeria, and you are giving a river basin that is in charge of food. That is the Ministry of Water Resources are majorly the one that should be in charge of food in Nigeria. And you are giving such agency, take for instance our agency, our budget last time was 4 billion. So what will I do with 4 billion? Nothing. Other than to look at, okay, what can we do? So, but there are so many things that we need to do. It's about funding. And the minister is looking at that. The minister is critically looking at that. If you look at the whole thing in Nigeria, like I said earlier, river basin are the whole agency that have close to about 1.1 or so. It's about 1.1 million hectares in Nigeria. From the north to the south, from south to east, 12 river basins. But they are not being utilized. All you see them do is they will maybe go into small irrigation. So we need government intervention to be able to ensure we deliver on this food security.
Government intervention in terms of funding or policies or reforms?
In terms of funding, in terms of support, in terms of policy.
All right.
Everything.
So policy for now. What policies or reforms are needed to integrate water resource management with agriculture in Nigeria?
Okay. The 12 river basin we met, and we're coming up with some policy that we want government to support us with, that can deliver our mandate vis-a-vis the issue of food security. Because when you look at the government, there's some certain policies the government need to put in place. One of these policies, you don't expect them to go to farm. You don't expect a farmer. We are giving a farmer now 5 hectares of land, 10 hectares of land, maybe a corporation, 10 hectares of land. And they go to bank to borrow money at 26%.
Okay.
How do you now expect the farmer to sell what they're going to sell and pay back that loan with the 26%? Go to different, go to most of these places. for farmers is less than 5%. Because that should be the priority. But in Nigeria today, if you go to any commercial bank, they tell you it's 26%. Most of these commercial banks, they don't even answer farmers. They prefer to listen to somebody who want to bring in tire.
That's a huge challenge.
They want to bring tire from China because they know that is an immediate money. But you see, we have neglected the aspect of agriculture in our commercial banking. So until government comes out with a policy that banks should devote certain percentage of their profit into agri sector by assisting farmers, especially the river basin. Because if we can come up with a list of our farmers, if I have take for instance in Ekiti, Ondo, if I have 1,000 hectares, 2,000 hectares I want to give to farmers, I should be able to list the number of farmers I want to give it to, and give the list to a commercial bank to help these farmers, give them some money to be able to assist them in farming. But when you see farmers not getting any assistance.
So when you say government, who are you speaking directly to?
To what?
When you say government needs to do something about it, who are you speaking directly to?
I'm part of the government, so I'm not saying myself that the government need to look at that. Because you see, the issue is the private sector, especially commercial banks, the developing partners, must look critically into what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu declared last month about food security, state of emergency on food security, and look at how can they come into the system. But you see, in Nigeria, everybody believes in oil. If most of the people that make billions of naira in oil have less than 10 workers, that's a fact. If you see any oil company, some of them have less than maybe max 20, 30 workers. But a private sector that is going to agri can employ 200, 300, 500 workers in a farm. It may be a long-term investment, but that will give us, if we really critically look at the private sector, a lot of youth empowerment in the agri sector. So government need to come up with different policies that will help the farmers vis-a-vis the issue of food security. Because the farmer needs to be encouraged. It's not the issue of, it's not about food security.
But do you think we're serious about Can you hold on? Do you think it was serious as a country about revitalizing the agricultural sector?
Is that what?
Do you think it was serious as a country about revitalizing the agricultural sector?
I think we were not serious before, but this government is very serious about it. Okay. That's a fact. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is very, very serious about agriculture. I can give you an example. I am aware one of the governors budgeted less than 4 billion as in his budget for agri. And the president was furious about this. And he told the governor, with this money that we are giving to you, how can you budget just 4 billion for agri? I don't like this. This is not the way to go. But I can tell you now, the government is seriously moving on agri. He has devoted over 70 billion on agri. And that's what we're talking about. So the Mr. President is seriously focusing on agriculture. And if we can continue with this momentum, I can assure you that in the next 1 year, you can see the rate at which food prices are crashing down. But if the river basin are given maximum support, give us 1 year, food prices will crash down.
So you said funding is a challenge, but on your own part, are there any innovative financing models or partnerships you're exploring to expand project delivery? That's my final question.
Oh, of course. We are looking at the entire river basin, not just Benin River Basin alone. We are looking at partnering with the developing partners across the world in how to deliver our mandates. Because the most important thing in farming is the land preparation. Once you prepare characterize your land, once you prepare your land, the rest are just minimal. But the most important thing is it may be easier in the north, but not in the south. So that is the major. So we are having a lot of meetings with our development partners all over the world.
All right, then. Thank you so much. Great conversation tonight, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you, Dr. Olufemi Adekombi, MD, Benin Owena River Basin Development Authority.